welcome in. So right now we are getting ready, just the same as, when I think maybe I have a memory of this, from the olden days when, like other lifetimes, olden days, when you would sit by the fire and you would gather, all of the men would gather today, possibly the women too. In the really, really olden days, when everything was harmonious, which is what we're heading back into, when there was not this conflict between the man and the woman. There wasn't this conflict, all of these ways that people have been trained about what a man and a woman is supposed to be. It doesn't have to be that way. It can be the way that you decide. Because most of the issues that usually always tends to happen in relationship, in the dualistic perspective, at some point, or it's just working somehow and it's not too much growth in consciousness perhaps. We are fine the way that we are, type of thing, which is sometimes a loop as well. It can be, depends. We are talking about experiential, so that you don't go into a lull of how things are, but that you are actually following the rhythms of the planet and then you are in connection, which usually tends to happen when you are living in nature, because what you are around, you become. So if you're inside of a city, your consciousness is going to be affected by that in terms of how sensitive you are, because you have to close off to certain energies. It's just natural to be able to survive in those when it's so much pollutants. And we're not only talking about air, sound, stimuli, marketed, like there's so much that that your body is picking up and processing, and it's like screaming for the attention, right? And so of course that does something to the system. And so that's why many beings that are in the system go to retreats to recuperate and to get replenished and get reconnected with the body. But you don't have to wait for that. You can start now, so that jump doesn't become so drastic from working life to actually enjoying life, Life is supposed to be joyful. And we are in an era now that so many beings can live from their passion, but the only thing that is holding them back is their own willingness to comprehend truly what it is and do the work. Because it is work, and the work is focus, so that you focus where you see the first. The first is just training in how this works, to be able to see like this, to be able to correct your own energy, because without you having corrected your own energy, you won't be able to get the gifts of seeing intuitively. into other beings. You might pretend and superimpose, but that is not true intuition. That is a twisted control way, and sometimes overly, desire to be special, and then getting drawn into things and then believing things. There are so many variants that these sort of small psychoses that people can be in, which is sort of like a haze of reality, which when you're in it, it seems to be so real. And we get it. But it is still the same applies still, for as much as you identify with the story and the narrative that you have built in your life. We're speaking from the soul's perspective here, right? Where you get to finally come online to see the truth of your life and what you have done. There's no shame, there is no nothing. Those are all made up, erroneous judgments, screwy viewpoints. And that is something that all feelers, the beings that are sensitive in their bodies, they can feel that usually in the solar plexus. Because it's like control. It's that when you have learned to open. Because it's only when you open your flow of energy that you can start to sensitize yourself with, first of all, what's going on there. But second of all, once you have clarified and you have worked on yourself enough, these energy centers start to blossom outward. They become like flat. That's why these depictions of in Hindi and all the yogi, all of these that are depicted of the symbols of each chakra, they are the vibration when each of those chakras are aligned, and when they open, they sort of flower, just like the water ripples with certain frequencies that are very much in alignment. That is what each of those centers will do. And when you vibrate all of these centers, and when you work on your human, because that, once you get that, like, it's so easy to know what to do. The hardest thing is to do it. But that's when you see that this has everything to do with human energy and human power. What viewpoints give you power? What views do you have of the world that gives you strength and that propels you forward in consciousness? Being proud of who you are, of what your particular expression and viewpoints are of the world. Let that blossom. You are the gift that we're all waiting for. That realness. That is what is sustainable. Everything else, it might puff up a little bit and then it falls down, unless it's rooted in the truth. Everything has to be rooted in the truth. That's why that's so important. And it's not, it's the body, it's the only relationship. It is not about the outside, it's about the inside. We have to remember, we have to bring it back. It's always about the inside. When you calibrate and you do the work, man, it is so satisfying. The feelings that we are sensing now because we are open. We're finally allowing ourselves to open. We haven't realized that the whole dualistic perspective is a whole survival system. It's a whole system. And you can pretend that you're not in survival and still be in the system, but then you are actually energetically still caught. That's what we have to change. So that when that call from God is coming to you, when that moment, because they come frequently to each and every one of us. But what are you listening to? Are you listening to the call, God's call, or are you listening to the ego's call? Right? Like when we're getting deeper into it, it becomes very practical. Because it's all about what we're doing inside. That matters. And that we're true to this system. If we sense something is off, that's a signal. If you override that signal, that's on you. If you don't deem feelings important enough, they have vital information. And that is the coming back of the feminine. Many call this the feminine. But it truly is the coming back to the body, which is coming back to truth, which is coming back to feeling all of the things that you have done to your body, all of the things that you have withheld, all of the things, it's all coming out. It all has to come out, the truth, for us to finally move forward in consciousness. That is the forward movement of consciousness. And you are all on different stages of this evolutionary journey. We know it can be challenging sometimes. These are feelings. And it all matters how you view them. What is your interpretation of them? That determines your reality. But it's one key perception that unlocks everything and anchors you to the truth. And that is listening to the body. Having learned and having the wisdom to know what these signals mean, and that they're only signals for you with your body and me with my body. They're not an instigator of anything unless it is to protect and just say what needs to be shared. That is what is important. Not sharing what's important, not sharing what is popular, not sharing what is popular. What is popularity? If you chase that, you're chasing a ghost. It's all about internal alignment. Internal alignment. And then, what are you choosing? How are you choosing to respond, to react to situations out there? How are you demonstrating your alignment when you go out there? How are you demonstrating your alignment when you go out in the world? Are you behaving just the same as them? Or do you take the opportunity when God is speaking to you, telling you a good idea that might seem a little bit crazy for the logical mind? But that's the thing. In order to change, you need to change the way that you're looking at the world. The world that you thought that you knew is not the world that truly exists. That's for certain. We are guiding you step by step. To see more of this reality truly for what it is. There was a backlog of coconut sipping there the entire time. But it was really, really clear. All right, I feel like that was it for now. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments, and let us know let us know what your situation and where you are in consciousness. What is it that you're working with? Lovely to hear from you guys. All right, sending you so much love, and we'll talk to you again in the next one. Ciao.